Let's be honest, some of us really struggle with technology, and switching from a carburetor to a Sniper EFI system, well, that can be a little bit overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. Let me take some time and show you how to troubleshoot and better understand some of the basic startup needs when installing a Sniper EFI system from Holley. Let's start with our switch 12-volt power source. In this case, on the Sniper, it's a pink wire. This needs to have power when the key is in the run position and no power when it is in the off position. There's a caveat to this though. It also requires power when the key is in the cranking position and you're cranking the engine. To check this, all we need is either a 12-volt test light or a multimeter, both of which you can find at your local auto parts store for less than 20 bucks. First, you'll need to connect the ground lead to a good grounded source. Now touch the pointed tip of the test light or your multimeter to the wire or terminal that you're thinking about using. In cases where you cannot get to the bare wire or make contact with the terminal, you may have to probe the wire insulation. It's not the best scenario, but it does work. Just remember to use some electrical tape to cover the puncture of the insulation afterwards. That way you can prevent any accidental contact. Now as you're holding the test light to the wire or terminal, turn the key to the run position. If the source you chose is a switch source, the test light should now light up. Or if you're using the voltmeter, you should see somewhere around 12 volts or battery voltage. We also need to check that we have 12 volts in the cranking position. With the test light or multimeter probe still on our wire, turn or have someone turn the key and crank the engine for just a couple of seconds. The test light should stay lit when you go from the run to the cranking position. If you're using a voltmeter, you'll see a voltage reading during the cranking, but remember with the extra load of the starter on the battery, the voltage is going to drop below 12 volts while cranking. If you don't have power in the run or cranking position, you'll have to choose another wire and retest. Most vehicles are equipped with a keyed ignition switch that can supply both voltage in the run as well as the crank position. You can tap into it right at the ignition switch itself, somewhere in the steering column or under the dash, or like we did right here at the fuse panel. Some ignition switches do not provide 12 volts in the cranking position. The easiest way to correct this is to replace the switch entirely with one that does. Once you've verified that you have 12 volts of power in the run as well as the cranking position, go ahead and finish the Sniper EFI installation and complete the wizard. Once the calibration is installed, go ahead and turn the key off. But before we start the engine, we need to take a look at a few other things first. The first thing you'll notice when you turn the key on is a text screen similar to this one. This is the normal initialization screen and will appear anytime the unit is powered up. As the Sniper boots up, this screen will disappear after a few seconds and the home screen will then be visible. After powering the Sniper up, you should also hear the fuel pump run for approximately 5 seconds. This is assuming that you use the fuel pump relay circuit that's incorporated in the Sniper EFI harness to power your pump or to trigger a larger relay if needed. You should also hear the injectors pulse once, priming the engine with a shot of fuel. This can be kind of hard to hear, especially if your fuel pump's loud. If you remove the air cleaner and have a buddy listen in the engine bay, you can verify the fuel prime, which happens about 2.5 seconds after you turn the ignition switch on. You'll notice there's no choke on the throttle body, like your typical carburetor has. There's no need to pump the accelerator to activate the choke mechanism either. In fact, you shouldn't even have to touch the accelerator pedal at all if you follow the idle setup instructions correctly. If you press the accelerator pedal and you go past 60% on the TPS, it goes into what's called a clear flood safety mode. This prevents the injectors from firing and flooding your engine. To reset it, you'll need to turn the ignition switch to the off position for at least 5 seconds and then restart. Pay close attention to the initialization screen as you start the engine. When starting the vehicle while the handheld is still initializing, will look something like this. You'll notice the screen go blank for a second or two before it reboots. This is normal. For best starting performance, you should wait at least 3 seconds, allowing time for the fuel prime to happen, which will help with starting. Waiting 5 to 6 seconds before starting the vehicle allows the handheld to boot up completely, and now when you crank the engine, the handheld screen shouldn't flicker or go black. If you notice the screen flickers or goes blank at any time during the startup process, here are a few possible causes. The most common cause is low battery voltage. Use the monitoring capability of your handheld to check the battery voltage. If your battery reads less than 12 volts without a load, the battery may be just weak or possibly have a bad cell. If the battery is low, use a smart charger to charge your battery. To avoid possible damage to sensitive electronics, we recommend only using a smart charger. If you do not have a smart charger, it's best to eliminate the Sniper EFI unit from the system by disconnecting both the positive and negative battery leads at the battery while you're charging it. To check your battery under a load, crank the engine and watch the reading on your multimeter. You should see around 12 volts initially, and the reading will drop as the load from the starter is applied. We don't like to see the reading drop below 11 volts under a load, and the lower the reading, the more likely you're going to have hard starting issues. A bad CAN bus connection could also be to blame. Recheck the connection by removing and reconnecting the handheld at the main wiring harness CAN bus connector. If you've added a CAN bus extension cable to your setup, be sure to check those connectors as well. Well, I hope these tips help you troubleshoot any potential problems you may have with your Sniper EFI install. 9 times out of 10 though, it comes down to either faulty wiring, bad electrical connections, or not following the directions correctly. Take the time and do it right the first time. You'll thank me later. For more information on troubleshooting your Sniper EFI system, or to see any of our other great automotive products, visit our website at holley.com.